What in the world is going on here? And did I just see a glitch in the Matrix?
The Mandela Effect is showing us we can choose the golden timeline together. If you need someone, they can pop into reality as if they were always there. You can get the people that you need, the experiences you need, the money that you need, all of it. Because one thing we've noticed with the Mandela Effect is physical changes to anatomy where we're getting upgrades. Basically, there are these sort of, if you want to call them quantum superpowers that we are gaining access to through the Mandela Effect. It's basically, it enables us to see the effects of our consciousness across time and space, that there is no boundary, that it doesn't need to be in the same room.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to make quantum leaps in your life or shift to a parallel reality, then do we have the Quantum Jump Show for you. Today I'll be talking with Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson, author of numerous books including Quantum Jumps and Reality Shifts. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about what in the world is the Mandela Effect, the nature of reality, and how we can shift to a higher level. That, plus we'll talk about roses, Boulder, and Dushanbe, tea house that is, Walker's Crisps and Kit Kats, Mary Rose Barrington and Jot, Costco versus Costco, Luke, this is your father. Luke, I am your father. Mirror, mirror on the wall, Rev Humanism and white buffalo calves, screws on couches, and what in the world Pitch Perfect 2 has to do with anything. So welcome to the show, Cynthia. Are you ready to shine?
Always. Thank you so much, Michael. It's such a pleasure to be with you live in person. I just love your energy so much.
Thank you so much. Oh, and you've got one too. I like it. So a few months ago, Jessica and I, my wife Jessica and I, were driving around in our RV all across the country. We've got Ruru the rooster with us. In fact, he was the start hit attraction when we stopped in Iowa at the Field of Dreams. And we recorded a show there, and there was a plaque there at the Field of Dreams. And the plaque said, if you build it, he will come. And my audience went nuts. It's not he will come. You got it all. And I'm like, here's the plaque. They will come.
Right.
What in the world is going on here? And did I just see a glitch in the Matrix, Cynthia?
Oh, some people call it that. That is a prime example of the Mandela Effect right there, where a lot of us, myself included, I'm joining all of your viewers that remember, if you build it, they will come, from that movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. So it's such an iconic line. It's the one that we remember. It's the way we say it. And now what the heck happened? If you build it, he will come. So this is now supposedly what that line in the movie has always been, which is why it's a good example of what some people call false memories. But those of us who have those memories certainly don't call them false. We would say we are remembering things differently. And to us, that's the correct memory because that's how we saw the movie. It's not some confabulation. To me, it's not false memory. But that is the standard definition, the mainstream definition for the Mandela Effect.
To me, it's reminding me of old hard drives, and it's reminding me of a giant CPU where you pull out this magnetic drive and you put another one back in, and there's somebody, we're going to go with the Matrix theme, I guess, today a little bit. There's somebody, there's an operator out there or an architect, I guess it's the architect, who pulls out a disk drive and puts another one in, and suddenly the collective memory has changed, but you know it's not. Luke, I am your father.
Right. That's how we remember it. Luke. And that booming tone. You know, I love James Earl Jones's voice. It's the best. So when he says, Luke, I am your father, it's so resonant, so booming. I was in the theater when I saw that movie, but that's now never been the way that movie dialogue was said. So this is another shock for most of us to look at the movie the way it's always been. And I know that they've tampered with the Star Wars movies. That we're not talking about that because we can go down that whole editing thing.
Yes.
It's not about the editing. It's just now it's supposedly always been, only ever been, no, I am your father. And the actor who did the voice, James Earl Jones himself, has been recorded on camera remembering it and saying it, Luke, I am your father, which sounds so good. But, no, I'm your father. Not the same thing.
And last one, and then I want to get to what the meaning is behind this because it's all good, cool stuff. And you, like
Yeah.
me, have pulled on that golden thread to see where it takes us and then said, what can we do with this? How can we play with it? What can we do to drive this new little sports car we've been given because we've gotten glimpses from the universe? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
This is also how I remember it. Thank you for saying these the way that so many of us remember it. Because now, if we watch these movies again, the Disney movie, the cartoon that's so famous around the world, now it's magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? And that sounds off. It was so beautifully with the alliteration, and the advertisements on TV often recently, even last year, have mentioned mirror, mirror on the wall. So just that when so many of us do remember it that way, even people who are copying it remember it that way, then you know something big is going on. And it's huge.
Let's talk about just how huge it is. I see everything going on as an upwelling of consciousness. That's the only way that I can see things. Are these glitches? Because clearly this is a, I'm going to call it an error, which isn't an error at all, in fabric of space and time that actually allows us to put our foot in the door and then play on the other side. What
Yes.
is going on? What's the ghost in the machine here?
What's going on? Great question. Well, I think this is something that if I couldn't tell you that I can say it exactly in a few words and have it exactly comprise every element of it.
It's all good.
Um, there are aspects to it which I think start to show us the consciousness behind the little man behind the curtain. And that's what seems to be going on. Fundamentally, consciousness is, I think, the primary basis of all reality. So it is like we're living in a waking dream. Secondly, most of us are only seeing subjective reality, which is not to say that there isn't such a thing. And we have the idea of objective reality, but it's not really necessarily 100% true. Instead, I would say that we've got collective consciousness pulling together various subjective realities. And so sometimes when that collective consciousness is shifting, collectively we'll notice, wow, things have just moved in a big way.
So you just hit an epiphany with me. And what it is, forgive me, I'm going to do something and you're going to think I'm bored and anything but the sort. I'm going to look at my watch, it's 1:29. I'm going to look back at my watch. Oh no, it's 4:44. I must be in a dream. No, if I go in a dream state, and a lucid dream, it's one of the key ways that you can actually get yourself to wake up in a lucid dream. And reality changes before you, and you can recognize it, like checking your watch twice. You know that you're living in a dream world. So
Yes.
here we are, in essence, being woken up with these hints and clues
Yes.
that, just as Jung put it, just as so many First Nation peoples have put it, the dream world is the waking world. This is the dream world.
It is. And I go into this a little bit in my book, Reality Shifts, when consciousness changes the physical world, because it seems like the physical world is changing. But like you said, it's a dream. And we can live lucidly. We can wake up. That's exactly it. So that's another great way to describe this whole phenomenon, especially when we get the personal Mandela effects or reality shifts. And then you were touching on Mary Rose Barrington, who wrote
Yes.
just one of those things. Are you familiar with her already? Because she was new to me last year. But obviously she'd been around lots of years and been documenting this individual personal Mandela effect phenomenon, if you will, for a long time.
Yeah, no,
So,
she was new to me when I do a lot of homework before a show, and
yep.
I found out about JOT, and maybe you can explain what JOT is and then where my keys went.
I don't know about your keys, but JOT stands for just one of those things. And Mary Rose Barrington came up with that cute little acronym, that little way to remember that things can disappear, reappear, transform, transport. And she had cute names like walkabout, when things move around as if by themselves. And that's where your keys might go. You might notice that they're one place, and then you look for them and they're not where you know you put them. And it seems like even if you rule out everybody else moving them or any other possible logical explanation, then all that's left is they have basically transported somewhere. And this happens to me quite a bit. It happens to a lot of people quite a bit, not just keys, but lots of things. And it could be big things. It doesn't have to be little things.
Well, for myself, it is fairly consistent that I will go and look someplace for something, and I know that I'm I'm both grounded, but I'm also sometimes in the clouds a bit. Let's call it that, which
Mm.
is interesting because there's a whole thing about the cloud and uploading, and maybe we'll get there. But I will go look someplace and it will not be there, and it will not be there, and it will not be there. And my wife, I will finally say, "Can you please help me
Mm.
find this?" And she goes, "Well, it will be on the counter." And I go, "No, I have looked and looked and looked again because I knew you were going to say, and I will go, and it will now be there." I'm going,
Right.
"You're messing with me, universe."
In a good way. It's like you
Yes.
said, though. It's like looking at your watch in a dream, and you can see the time change instantly.
Mhm.
These really are the little clues, I believe, like you do, that with consciousness itself communicating with us, saying, "Hey, do you get it yet? Consciousness is fundamental. Consciousness is everything."
What is consciousness trying to show us through this? So I got one hint. I got one interesting synchronicity before this, which is the day after my wife got married and I got married in Boulder, Colorado. We went to our favorite hangout where our best man Jack, he was 89 years young at the time, was our favorite hangout for the three of us. And we had the whole family there for breakfast
Uh,
at the Dushanbe Tea House.
I love the Dushanbe Tea House. What a magical place.
It's this place that's imported over, like you said, from the East. It's imported,
Yes.
I think, from Russia, actually. And they took it over brick by brick on the boat, reassembled it. And you had an experience there where a rose fell out of the sky.
Yes, I was staying, well, I'd come into town and I don't live in Boulder. It's a beautiful place. I live in Berkeley. So I was from out of town visiting a dear friend, Nicole, and we had stayed until the restaurant was kind of, it wasn't shut down, but we were the only customers in the place. It's just the two of us sitting at a table. It had been pretty busy, but because I hadn't seen her in a long time, and we're talking about how beautiful it would be to have heaven on earth, just this paradise, the way that we can all love one another and really show up to support everyone and genuinely respect all of our nature and ourselves. We're just going on about this. The energy is just expanding. You could just feel it viscerally. The waiters are actually encouraging us, please stay. And now they're in the back kitchen doing the cleanup or whatever. Because I was starting to feel like, oh, everyone's left.
Yeah.
Maybe we should leave. And they said, no, no, stay, stay. And I know they could feel the vibe. It was just expanding, filling the room. And this was January 2020. So it was just before the whole world changed. And so we were just filling the Dushanbe Tea House with this beautiful energy. And then I said, oh gosh, Nicole, I should get a picture with you. So I stood up. And as I stood up, this little beautiful, delicate little mini, it's kind of a tiny little tea rose. This tea rose in a tea. I just noticed it's like a tea rose.
Uh-huh.
Well, it just, I know, it just landed at my feet. And I thought, what is this? And I thought maybe it was weird. It was like, if anyone else was there, I would have thought someone had thrown us a flower. It was like that, just kind of landing there. Like, what happened? What's this? And then I asked Nicole, did you bring this? She said no. But that didn't make sense either. And so it literally manifested out of thin air, a fresh cut, beautiful rose. And I think it's important that it was at that place and it was this discussion, this conversation. All of this happened.
And then, from what I understand, it disappeared and reappeared in your bag
Yes,
that you had looked in for weeks. It, it,
right.
it begets an important question, which is we talk about shifting reality. Now we're going to get into reality jumps and this sort of things. We'll go to quantum jumps right after this. In fact, there's so many good areas we can play together in. I view the rose, and I'm so glad you see it now as tea rose,
Yes,
as a punctuation mark to get your attention, that energy. You said
yes,
our vibes just kept going out and out and out. And
yes,
I would think universe consciousness wants to get your attention and say,
yes,
this is it. This is the state of creation. Let me
yes,
give you a punctuation mark, a node on your timeline so you will forever remember this.
yes, yes, exactly. It was incredible. And like you said, I went through this. Well, I saved the rose, finally thought of getting a picture of it later that evening after like a couple hours after I left the restaurant. Now it's looking a little wilted, not so because I put it in my purse. I tried to keep it safe, but things get a little crumpled. And then I thought, gosh, I need to protect this going through customs and everything, not customs, but security, TSA, all that good stuff through the airports and getting back home. So I had it very carefully situated, but then it vanished. It did not make that trip. And I was so disappointed. Like, well, there it went. But then, like you said, it did show up again. But that was a really bizarre how it showed up. It showed up in the bottom of a bag, a purse that I use with angels on it that I use all the time, regularly, constantly. I always empty it all out, put everything back in, empty, fill, empty, fill. That's where it showed up. After I'd emptied and filled it, maybe, I don't know, a dozen times. There's no way that it was attached to anything else. And it showed up perfectly, not crushed, dried. It was dried now. And that was mind blowing just to see it come back. So, yes, absolutely, the energy matters.
What was the message to you?
The message was, like you said, it's the what we picture, what we focus our attention on is the most important thing. And when we hold a vision, like we were in the Dushanbe tea house, of basically this, what you might call a golden timeline, what you might call heaven on earth, what you might call the Great Awakening, that we can bring this, that we are this, that this is our time. And it felt like this was, all of us are consciousness, and that we can choose it. We can choose to manifest this, to bring it forth, and it will be here.
Thank you. So I guess I'm going to go in a little bit of a circuitous direction, because you just brought up the golden timeline, and this certainly makes me think of the Hopi, the stone and the prophecy, and white buffalo, and here where I am in New Jersey, years ago when we were called to start this show and then called to move, we had a white deer, an albino deer, show up in our yard, and it was like, if that's not a clear sign. So you and I are teachers. We're all there's no levels or anything to this, but we're helping people to become more awake and aware of consciousness.
Yes.
What is the golden timeline that you speak of? What is it we're being called to do and share at this time?
Yes, the golden timeline is, we sometimes speak of it on this International Mandela Effect conference that I'm part of. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We just do live streams. But it's the idea that, as we saw on the Hopi Prophecy Rock itself, written in stone, thousands of years old, that there's a choice that mankind can make to stay connected with nature, with one another, to keep our hearts open with love and reverence and respect for the earth, for all of creation, all of our animals and plants and humans, and also to stay open to intuition, to keep that Kopavi, that crown chakra, open to receive inspiration, dreams, good dreams, to know the difference, to be discerning, and then to share beautifully with everyone that we meet. That golden timeline is depicted on the Hopi Prophecy Rock as the line of staying in touch with the earth, staying grounded, whereas it shows, that rock is amazing. It shows the creator down at the bottom left, and then two timelines, one above that sort of, it looks amazing at first, all these characters looking very kind of robotic, but then they fade out into the cloud, they vanish. So it starts off all shiny and amazing, like launching into space or something, and then poof, fizzles out. Whereas the line at the bottom, and the Hopi talk about the world ending many times, that we have been through this many times, where we get to a decision point and we choose which line are we going to stay on. The people that stay connected to the earth, to the deer, the plants, the trees, the animals, the birds, the roosters, everything, then we can continue forward in that beautiful relationship with respect, with love. And it's going to be fine. We've, the Hopi believe we've gone through this many times. It's going to happen, they say, 7 times. So we're in the 5th world complete, but things are about to change. They saw the signs of it. Now we can see the signs of it. We're literally launching a car into space. Really? So, we're doing crazy stuff, but that technocracy and this transhumanism concept, to me, it looks like it will fizzle out. I think the Hopi showed it right on their prophecy rock.
Oh, it's interesting. One of my dearest friends, I just wrote to him about an hour before we're talking here, Dr. Irvin Laszlo. He's a two-time,
Yes.
you know him then, two-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee, and he always talks about the bifurcation of humanity. Which direction do we choose that we want to go? Now, I
Yes.
believe I'm an optimist, and I know we've been around before and been around before and been around before. I am very
Yes.
hopeful that we have chosen a higher level, that implies good or bad, that we have chosen to make it through this time. How's that? I want to go there, and I want to understand. And one of the concepts that you talk about is, can you explain dimensions 1 through 9 to us because you talked about communing or communicating with nature, and you mentioned that nature is speaking on all dimensions of consciousness at the same time. And I think that's important because when we can plug into that and we understand, let's go to another movie. Sorry, everybody, if I'm moving really fast here today. The movie Contact and Ellie. And Ellie is looking for life in outer space, and she hears this message, and it's broadcast. It's an image, a television image, broadcast back from like the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. And at first they think this is an image of Hitler. Oh no, this is terrible. But then they peel back the layers, like peeling away different dimensions, and they find there is so much more information there. And
Yes.
I know spirit, consciousness, whatever we want to call it, is speaking to us on so many levels.
It is, and I briefly cover some of those dimensional 1 through 9 ways of feeling and connecting with consciousness in my book Reality Shifts, very briefly. But there's to just go through them quickly. To me, the first dimension of consciousness is like a photon, which is not just a photon. Photons are incredible. It's incredible. Let there be light, right? So they can be like a particle. They can be like just this probability waveform, wave function, and they are just smeared into all possibility. Like, hey, I can be anything, and then they pop up where they need to be. So that first dimension of consciousness is incredible. But how often do we spend our meditations feeling like a photon? That's empowering. When you get down to your source of who you really are fundamentally, you might actually identify with that. Like, I am light. I think some of us have hit that point. For me, the second dimension of consciousness is like the photon's dream. It becomes aware that it can just go through time. So it's not just a spatial connection, but it can change its connection with entropy itself. Time can be viewed as entropy. So if you kind of get into your lowest, you're just place where you're just eternal, unchanging. When you lower that entropy all the way back to like zero, to the nothingness, then it's incredible, because in that dream space, that lucid dreaming photon is capable then of literally being anywhere, realizing we can be heaven on earth. We are this, we're choosing it, here we are. And so the third dimensional thinking is everyday life that we're familiar with. Now we've got our height, length and width, the 3 dimensions of space that we're familiar with, and kind of going through a regular life. When you go into 4, that's fun, because then you get into that low entropy state again, where you can just be eternal, infinite, but 3 dimensions. So you're starting to get into your astral self, your dream self, that's very powerful, superhuman. You can fly around and do things. 5, this is getting very trippy, because now who can even imagine 5 dimensions? It's, well, if you've got angelic friends, or if you feel like you might have met some ETs or something like that, a lot of them are 5-dimensional. Maybe you've met Sasquatch. There are a lot of these kind of beings that are very higher dimensional beings. And then 6, they go to low entropy. They can choose to be one with the universe, to be into that state of all that is. 7, now it gets even like, whoa, what is this? Well, we talk about 7th heaven. These are even higher level interdimensional states of consciousness, very subtle level, it's very much everybody's in cahoots with everyone else, because everyone literally knows that we're all connected, and genuinely are what we would call really good individuals at 7th. 8, they again practice that state of woo, can get into that divine bliss state of no time, eternity. And then 9, wow, causal level. Anything you think it is. And sometimes there are legends that people have attained that state of being. We hear about it in our great ones, Jesus Christ, Buddha. Yeah, so many people obviously had that level of attainment.
And so understanding these basics, and I understand it goes on to infinity and beyond, and then it gets into some really big questions. How much can we shift our perspective to be at a different dimensional state? Actually, there's a term that I want to use here that you mentioned that was fascinating. A question. Second order perception of an original reality.
Yes. Okay. How much can we do it? As much as what we need is something to practice. I recommend listen first. Notice when you're getting insights, maybe from your higher self, your guides, and so forth. What levels are you picking up in? What are you? It's like playing a piano. What chord are you playing on your piano right now? Which combination? We can play combinations of these. You could be the photon, your three-dimensional self, and like maybe it's 1, 3, and 7. Like, ooh, cool. So to start listening. Notice what you're naturally doing, what chords you like. I like 168 a lot. So that's a chord my spirit plays. Like I can almost hear it. Like, ooh, 168. I love that dream space and I love the photons. So I'm just love that feeling. So that's the key there. When you mention levels of perception, this is the idea of Leibniz, one of the two creators and inventors of calculus, which made people go, ooh, no, don't worry about it. We're just going to take the good part. Oh, there are lots of good parts of calculus. We're going to take one of the good parts where Leibniz noticed that you can have a first order awareness of something like some butterfly lands on your finger, and that's happening. But then the second level is the awareness that this is your finger, and that something's landing there on your hand, and it's not a threat, so you don't have to go into fight or flight. It's just like, and then you might wonder what's going on. But it starts with a higher order awareness of the original perception. So it's really levels of awareness are the key to consciousness itself. And Leibniz, I want to give credit where credit's
Yeah.
due. I think he really got that.
Thank you. So when we look at the Mandela effect, when things happen, or we have the personal Mandela effect, one of the best
Yes.
things we can do, and I'll make it trippy for people, is zip on up to the top corner of the room and look down at the experience and say, what's going on here?
Yes. That's a great piece of advice because when you do that, for people that meditate, they can do it. Everyone can do it. Sometimes people think, what do you mean? Yeah, no, totally doable. Yeah, when I zip up to the top corner of the room, let's use an example I just talked about, this rose landing in the Dushanbe tea house. And then when I do that, today for the first time, I'm noticing that's a tea rose. How did that escape me in a tea house? I don't know. I think the whole thing was just so like, what?
It was a
So,
setup.
excuse me. So funny. Because then you just get the joke. It's almost like you can hear nature and the cosmos giggling, like, did you get it? There's a tea rose. Like, whoa. So it's the time, the place, the energy. When you zip up there, and then you can realize this is amazing. And what were we doing? I like to look at what was happening. What was the consciousness that was going on in that moment? And it was a whole expanded conversation that even the wait staff at the restaurant encouraged, keep going. And they weren't over, I don't think they were eavesdropping, but they just felt like just keep doing that. Just keep that blessing expanding. It's like they could sense the world needs this. You're doing a blessing for the world. Keep going.
I have no. I'm embarrassed to say this, but we had the same experience. Not the rose. We didn't get the tea rose, but we were asked. We were asked to stay, keep going with your conversation there at 10 o'clock at night as well. So it's
They
another
are
parallel.
it's a special place, don't you think? I mean, it's just really, yeah.
It is a very special, sacred place.
And
So what? Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
so glad it happened to you too. I can totally see it happening for you too. That you'd be
So,
just expanding the energy and kind of getting that vibe going.
and see that I teach a School of Mystics program or class,
Yes.
and one of the questions that came up as recently as last night is, can I individually make a difference if I'm just working on myself here in the now in the moment and not being out there doing something? And I'm like, are you kidding? Your energy matters infinitely.
It totally does. Yeah, there's just I think that cannot be understated. I mean, I'm glad you're emphasizing it because each of us has so much more of an impact than we realize. In even the smallest things are making a global, in fact, a cosmic difference. And I think it's the nature of that subjective reality. So we might think I'm not so important, but everyone whose life you touch, you're getting that. It's like you're multiplying. It's a huge multiplier effect.
Yeah.
So it can go quite exponential, and it gets into that whole quantum concept. Something very small can bring about a phenomenally big change.
No. And it's almost like we need a new word other than quantum because we're taught that there are two realities and there's no such thing. This gets into the whole concept of duality, but we'll talk about the duality of physics, that there's Newtonian physics and then there's quantum physics. And to me, it's all quanta. It is all a wave collapsing into a particle. It is all energy. Done deal, end of story, whether it's on the micro, whether it's in the macro.
Absolutely. And I wrote a paper that's on, I've got all the papers I wrote are on my website. So people can just go to realityshifters.com, and I think it's on my Cynthia page. But I wrote one about exactly that, it's about quantum logic, and that it is the primary logic. If you look at a Venn diagram, it's kind of like the universal state is quantum consciousness. And there are some physicists that have been proving that you can deduce all of quantum physics from just 6 simple axioms. Lucy and Hardy did that. And then um, within the quantum physics, there's a special case of rules and laws, and that would be classical physics. That's how I view it. And to me, it's quite obvious when we notice that consciousness is fundamental. Consciousness is everywhere. And in a very special case, you can pretend it's not there, which is where you get materialism and your basic Newtonian physics. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just very limited, and it's pretending that there is no consciousness, pretending we can be objective.
There is a teaching center. I don't know if it still exists there. It's not the Shambhala Center, but it's another Tibetan teaching center in Boulder, Colorado. And I was taught the axiom there, and I probably won't get it quite right, but it's so apropos for this, which is let go of all attachments except the Buddha, and then let go of the Buddha. Which is also another way to put it is when you see the Buddha on the road, kill the Buddha. which what it means is we have an attachment to this time and space reality, to this teaching school. We'll call it the Earth School. Have an attachment to this Earth School and amnesia to the nature of consciousness in order to learn and grow and expand. And then let go of that.
Yes. Well, that's beautiful. I think detachment while staying entangled is key. It's like so important. And the entanglement is that love. It's just keeping that sense of connection, because we don't want to lose that. And it's okay to stay entangled to your rooster and your family and your loved ones, or whatever pets you might have, or just the wildlife in the area, and just nature itself. Well, that entanglement is important, but that's different. And then detachment, I love it. Detachment, because we humans we tend to grab onto things. We don't want this to change. The only thing we want to keep unchanging would be the ineffable, that which is indescribable. It's like the Tao is indescribable.
If what we're taking away here is that energy matters, then
yes,
while in one sense it's not real, you can really get yourself in trouble down the rabbit hole because it is real. There's a butterfly effect. There's a butterfly effect of the entire universe where everything matters. And this doesn't mean that you have to go around guilty, shamed, embarrassed, or kicking yourself for what you did. But it means that we can let go of the attachment. I love my wife very dearly. I understand the cosmic joke that at some point we'll be seeing each other on the other side and we'll have to part ways on this side of the veil. But at the same time, what can I do to bring more love, to expand to raise my energy here with everything I've got?
Exactly. And there's a gift in this, because when we explore that question, and questions are so important, as you know, like in a dream, when you ask a question, you live the answer. We're doing the same thing with lucid living, clearly. And so when we focus on that, we can rise up above that drama. But sometimes people can get then reconnected to the drama by feeling that they need to save people, that they need to be the rescuer. And you don't need to worry about anything because Cosmos has got this. So you can rise above that too. And then one third challenge in that drama triangle is that of the persecutor, who gets, them because they're angry, very angry, because things should be done differently. We all know this, and you can rise above that too. So it's really that transcendence, and it can happen effortlessly through just staying focused on that reverence, the joy, the gratitude, the love.
Well, you call it, I think, Rev humanism.
Yes.
And I was thinking of going there at the end, but we can go there now. Then we're going to play with some time shifting and stuff. But I'm holding this stone. My wife bought it for me in Sedona. I'm holding it in my hand. And what I'm doing is to you, but to all of our audience, I send love, and I run my thumb around it. I send love. I send love. I'm keeping myself in that state of reverence to remember what's important in each and every moment.
Yeah, to me, reverence is just it's like words can't even convey what it feels like.
What is timeline shifting?
Okay, well, to me, time is more in curves than lines, first of all, but we'll just use the word timeline because people are familiar with it. So, because to me, it's like this curvature. The things are wavy. Nature's not growing in straight, rigid lines. It's by curves, and it's very natural. But time curves or timelines are our awareness that when you get to a decision point, like the prophecy rock is showing, we can go shiny and launch cars into space. Nothing, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like that's one path where you just put all your hopes, all your dreams on. We're going to transform all of the crises and the traumas of the world through technology, and we're going to technology. I can't even say the word, but we're going to become like cyborgs and not that there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes we need various things to upgrade our bodies, and that's the best technology we have. But when we put the technology above, this is where the problem goes into. When you put it above everything else, then we lose the reverence of the wonder and the miracle and the awe and that sense of just mind-blowing expansion. Like there's always something more to learn here. And when you lose that, and when you lose the respect for it, that's a little bit too high. I'm not going to pay that price, or I don't wish to pay that price. So choosing that reverence, that you can never step into the same river twice. That even though mathematically you can say the river is X and X plus Y equals Z, stepping into a river is X, I would say, well, wait a minute. When I step into that river, it's not going to be the same thing 1 minute to the next, 1 day to the next. Me stepping in that river is different than Michael stepping in the river at different times. So the reverence comes in when we recognize that each of us is divine at our essence, and that there's a spark in each of us that is so beautiful. And when you start to feel it and you can feel that you're connected with it, it's extraordinary. And it's possible to live this way just by choosing it and becoming more aware, taking time and just to meditate before each meal. Prayer and meditation are great for this.
So thank you. I look at, and I can remember channeling, I think it was Neville Goddard last year, and we were talking about an infinitude of doors before us, and talking about you get in a resonant frequency, and it's like charging your hotel key, and then you can put it in the door, and the door opens. The crazy thing is that the door probably charged it up rather than you thinking you charged it up, and the door gave you the idea that you even want to open the door. But that goes way down the rabbit hole. But based on our energy, can we choose different timelines and choose different doors?
Absolutely. I actually recommend a practice of go down if you've got a hallway with doors in it. We do this when we lose things. Like you were probably doing it when you lost that item in your house. And then your wife said, just look there again. Chances are you might have been walking down a hallway, and literally it's when we live in our regular waking lives, like we keep saying, it's a lucid dream, and we forget that our subconscious is so tuned into that. When our subconscious walks through a door, it's willing to imagine, sure, it could be different now. I'll give it a shot. I'll look again. Whoa, there it is. So this is something you can actually do if you lose something: is go down, walk down the hall, come back. I've done that when I was missing a spice in the cupboard. I just kept walking away from the kitchen, come back, check it again. I'm like, yep, not there yet. No problem. Walk away, come back. So we can energize this. We can recognize that by keeping that optimism. I love that you're an optimist. That's very good, because then you're already on that on that wavelength of how good can it get. You're really willing to go there, always open for it. Like, I'm willing to see how good it can get. I love that. So that's very key. I think I answered the question. I may have rambled.
No, it's perfect. Would you imagine that the spice is there? Because you share a story about a screw appearing on your couch that shouldn't
Yes.
have been on the couch, but it was too hard to find it on the carpet. So when you envisioned it on the couch, there's the old story of looking for the keys on the road, and the police or something come by and go, "Why are you looking for it here?" Well, that's where the light is. But in this case, we can actually shift reality.
Totally can. And you can shift it so it shows up in the light where you can see it. Exactly. So this tiny little screw was doing some maintenance on curtain rods, and I didn't realize that I have my hands full holding the curtains, holding the rod, and then, wouldn't you know it, teeny tiny little miniature screw is also needs to be held. I'm like, oh no. And sure enough, it fell. I couldn't quite get a grip on it, the curtains, the rod. Like, oh brother. And then it fell into the shag carpet, which is of course the same color. It's like, oh my goodness. And I know I could have probably used a magnet. I hadn't quite gotten to that point. I was
Yeah.
still trying to feel it and look for it. But every time I stood up to sort of stretch, like, wow, that's down there on the floor a lot. And then I would see this beautiful red blanket on the couch. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if it showed up there? I could see it there. Well, it's not there, so I'll go back down to the carpet. But then one of those times, there it was, where I could easily see it, right where I kept looking. It would be nice if it showed up there. Yeah, exactly like the cupboard. It would be nice if I had the nutmeg. Yes.
So let's bring a few concepts together then. There's the Mandela effect going on, where reality gets changed, or our perception of what was or what is gets changed. There's the concept, not concept, there's the reality, I'll call it, whatever reality is, that if we get a group of people together, and we often talk about the 10%, that can create a global shift, a global Mandela effect, for instance. You're
Yes.
talking about if we envision where we want to find that screw, we can change the reality and have the screw appear.
Yes.
Putting this all together means we really are, in a sense, can be, at least to a certain level, a master of the golden timeline if we A, choose it, and B, be very careful, in the most beautiful way, not a teacher slapping your hand saying be careful, of where we put our energy, our emotion, and our attention.
Yes. That's beautifully summarized. I don't think I could say it much better myself. I love it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And we do sometimes envision that together. I mentioned the IMEC. We do these monthly live streams and sometimes talk about it and encourage people to visualize what would you like to bring into reality. Because one thing we've noticed with the Mandela effect is physical changes to anatomy, where we're getting upgrades and the kidneys are no longer exposed. You know what a kidney punch is, right?
Oh
Like if I
yeah,
asked you,
I've
so
had one.
so if you put your hands where your kidneys would be, where would you put your hands?
I put my hands right back here.
Exactly. That's what I remember. Well, guess what? We've had an upgrade affecting what, 8 billion people on the planet? That's right. And now the kidneys have moved upward under the relative safety of the rib cage. So when doctors go in to do any kind of a check on kidneys,
Mhm.
no longer do they check the back, the lower back, right where you put your hands. I remember that. But now it's a little bit, it's noticeably higher and it's noticeably safer.
The weird one to me is I heard this a few years ago, and I had to take a double think there to it, which is I knew and I studied and tried to build a whole degree in exercise physiology. I knew the heart was on the left, and here I am, starting a few years ago, being told that the heart is almost centered in your chest, and I'm going, all these years I was wrong.
That's another Mandela effect. And I don't know how that's an upgrade, but probably it is an upgrade.
Well, I
Bec-
like it because we talk about, and I've seen you do the same thing. I imagine taking a golden
yeah,
string and bringing it centered down in here and being
yes,
here in center in perfect alignment. So it makes
exactly.
sense.
To me, it's nice. It is an improvement. But I know with some of the staunch skeptics, they would say, how is that exactly an improvement? And I don't know. It's nice.
Well, let's go from another level, which is you talk about something called left brain interference, and
Right?
and now we're going to center.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. Love it. That's brilliant. That's exactly it, because there's been this bias in our Western culture, certainly, to disregard intuitive ways of knowing, to denigrate them somehow, to say that they're lesser than, that they're not as good as these analytical, rational, materialistic ways of thinking, which to me, those are fine, but they need to be the faithful servant and they should not be in charge of the operation. And I know that you'll hear people say, no, you can't put the other side in charge. Look what happened with whatever, religious wars and so forth. But obviously, if you stay connected to that higher dimensional thinking that we were talking about, where you genuinely see others as not so much bad, but just different, the subjective realities are equally valid for them, and you can have reverence and respect for them. then that's wonderful.
But when we're talking about religious wars, we're not talking about the mystical level. We're not talking about the spiritual level. Religion is a codification of laws that people are willing to fight and die for. That actually goes left. That actually is not the intuitive side.
Right.
If we go more to that balanced side, if we go to any of the creation stories, we were a more ethereal being. We were much more connected until we'll bring it to Western religion, fall of Adam, the fall from grace, the shifting to the, I don't remember if it's the condor versus the eagle. I'm bringing them all in here at the same time.
But it's also that that timeline. It looks amazing. It looks like technology. We can do it. We're demigods. And then you end up launching the car in space and things going kind of wonky. I mean, it's again, the technology is not the evil thing, but when you think that is the golden calf, when you think that's the what's going to save the planet, that's where we can fall short.
I have a book that's usually in my hands. I'll pull it out and turn the light on in a second. It's called Awe, the Automatic Writing Experience. It helps you connect with higher dimensional beings. It helps you go in each morning and write to spirit or write to source, angels, guides, whomever. That kind of technology, the technology of communicating at a higher dimension, that's the technology I believe that we need to bring in this time and bathe ourselves in.
Yes. And to start discerning that when you can hear a voice of love, that voice, the eternal voice, the ones that are, that have the eternal truth to them, that feel vibrant, based in kindness, compassion, love, empathy, respect, reverence, goodness. We know what that is. And when you're guided by that, then you're fine.
You have a process in the morning that you do to get yourself in a certain energetic state, and then you prune the tree. Would you tell us what this means? Because I believe it is so important to be, and I'm hearing the Hawaiian term just keeps popping into my head from my Auntie Pooh, who's on the other side now, Pono. It is so important to be righteous or true to our words, our thoughts, and our energy at this time.
Absolutely. Well, I like to start the day by asking how good it can get, really, literally. I just love that question because it just automatically puts things back on the right track. And then ask, how can I be in service to the highest good? How can I be here in the best way possible today? And to put myself in alignment with whatever that may be, which I may or may not know, but I just trust the process. And then this pruning
let me
business.
pause you. Can you say it one more time? Because I say, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? What's your line?
How good can it get? Just like, how good? Yeah. I just want to experience it. I want to live it. And then that becomes, how good can I get? Some people might say, how God can I get? It's really inviting to do the ultimate level up. It's like, okay, I'm in it. So just take me there, but let me be in service at those levels, whatever that may be. And to me, so to some people, the ultimate goodness is God. So it's just realizing, okay, I'm aligning myself up with that. I'm in service with that. Let me be part of this experience and helping it become the experience of as many people as would like to experience it, really. So it's really bringing that into play. The tree is like, I'm holding my hand up. These are all like, one decision point might have 5 points. You might decide today I can spend time doing the things I thought I was going to do on my to-do list. Or I can just go with the flow. I'm just going to go and trust synchronicity every step of the way. Or maybe I'm just going to be letting guidance come through. I'll be taking checkpoints and channeling throughout the day or whatever. So lots of different ways to live your day. But sometimes you might actually sense there are 5 different literal things or 2 different things or 3 or whatever. Pruning the branches involves recognizing, gosh, I don't need to do the checklist today. That's what I used to do. That was the old me. So the new Cynthia, I'm not going to do the to-do list. I'm going to trust that I'll be in divine flow today. And I will be asking for little checkpoints with my guides. I'll get some nudges, like, which way should I go now? What's happening now? And I'll listen. So you can bring in whatever practice you'd like to put into play. And it's a great way to tune that up. Some people might literally see, when I was in my days of project manager, which I was at a large financial corporation, so I was very much in that mode. I can totally do that. But then I'd see these, like, today I'm going to do this, or that. And you can choose, like, okay, because that's where you are at that state of consciousness. Then you pick which one you're going to do. But if you're in that very groovy, flowy state, then you can choose which kind of flow you're going to do today. So it's an extremely beautiful way to consciously stay engaged throughout your day and just choose, like, now this is the waking part of the day. So today I'm going to try this. I'm going to see what is it like when I keep asking how good can it get every chance I get, no matter what's happening, or what's it going to be like when I check in with my guides at a few different key points when I can do that, or whatever. So it's a fun thing to do.
Thank you. And I was going to double back. You said check in with guides earlier, and you just said check in with guides again. What does it mean to you? And I find this fascinating because you're well down the rabbit hole here, but you're
Yes.
also coming from a a hard fact, science-based approach, and you're bringing a balance of the two. So what does it mean to you to check in with your guides?
I think listening is very important, and we humans, I think our key problem tends to be hubris or pride, where we think, like, I know what today is all about. Like, really? I
Duck
think
and cover.
yeah, duck and cover. I think humility and humbleness is a better approach. And then, so just making those checkpoints to listen to, and if you don't hear anything, you can invite your guides to just show me something. Let me see or know what I need to know right now. And it can come right into your reality, and it usually will. I love how you read the signs, how you're paying attention to things all the time. And like before we started today, you were using your camera. I just thought that's what you do. And it turns out you're actually seeing a sign. So
Oh,
that kind of thing is.
it was a beautiful red cardinal that came to bless us with this beautiful interview here. And I'm sure you're well aware of it, but the red that you're wearing right now is the exact color um,
And I
of the
was guided
comb
to
on the
wear this.
cardinal.
And I was guided to wear this color today. It's like, it was no question. I thought, well, and another choice? No, no other choice. This color. Yes, this color. Like, okay. So I don't argue with that. I often, that's how I choose clothing. I just go with guidance. But that Deshaun BT rose, when it came back, I was talking to Candace Goldman, and her primary guide is a red cardinal. She raised red cardinals. So there's a huge red cardinal connection there that I'm just thinking of too. So it's really ties things together.
If
It's
she
like
was if she was here
yeah,
today, what would be her message?
Candace Goldman. Oh, she's wonderful. I think she would really want us to know. She's all about quantum healing and connecting with these multiple realities, and the idea that miracles are always possible. Stay positive. So she'd be just joining us like, woohoo, you guys are doing it. And she is too.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
You go back to humility. It just popped into my head, so I'm going to bring it up, and I'm not sure we need to even go there, but Bono came into my head. If you want to touch the sky, better get on your knees. On your knees now.
Yes, exactly. And so it's I think the idea there is just pray and, just be in that state of humility. Stay low. It's the golden timeline is the grounded timeline. It's the one close to the earth. So that's important.
When I was channeling Lao Tzu yesterday, and we were talking about the three treasures. We were talking about kindness, simplicity, and humility. And I was talking about the greatest power in the world, on earth at least, is water, the oceans, the rivers. They will remove mountains, but they do it with a softness from the lowest point possible.
Yes, that's really beautiful. Love that.
That's
Love Lao Tzu.
he's got it going on. That's the
Totally.
power we're talking about. Before we begin to wrap things up and then dive into a meditation here, what are you grooving on? What's most excited, or what are you geeking out on right now, either personally or professionally?
Wow. Well, I've got this involvement with the Mandela Effect because it seems like this is such a time of great awakening and ascension. And I'm going to be putting together a little workshop online event for November 20th. It'll be with, I don't think it's announced yet exactly, but I'll be part of what we're calling cracking the ascension code. So I'll be introducing what kind of signs of awakening, like the Mandela effect, like these things, like synchronicity, all these things. What do they mean? How do you know when it's happening? What is this all about? And where is it taking us? And kind of just, and then there will be lots of other people involved in that too.
Yeah.
But I really feel like that's what's happening right now. I'll be also talking with Regina Meredith on Open Minds again, and we'll be diving into this. So I have a lot of collaborations, and then there's a book that went on slight, it got tabled, shelved slightly, The Mandela Effect and its Society. So I'll be picking that back up again. But due to the interesting things that happened in the last year and a half, it got set aside.
I think those set asides, because when it's coming from source, it will come back around. When it's coming from conscious,
Yes.
it will. That which is not, which the ego gets involved with, that will shrivel up on the vine and go away. But the other books, they will come back around. Ours took, I think, 4.5 years, the automatic writing experience, but it wasn't from me; it was through me,
Yes.
and therefore, when the time is right, it will be birthed. Where can people go to find out more, Cynthia, and find all of your beautiful work? And I believe this will come out before November 20th, but maybe people can actually still get, I don't know, a replay or something after that. Where
Yeah,
can people
right.
go to find out about all of it?
All of it is the best thing is sign up for my newsletter, which you can get through realityshifters.com. And that's where I'll be announcing these things that are happening. And if people don't want to subscribe, they can just read every single issue that started back in 1999. They're all there online. So it's realityshifters.com. And it also shows, I've got my shop. I autograph my books and CD, my meditation CD. And also you can find out about my YouTube channel, my podcast, Living the Quantum Dream, and a bunch of other things that are constantly happening with IMEC that I talked about, International Mandela Effect Conference, and so forth.
Beautiful. Thank you. Before we go into a meditation, why is it so important that we understand about the Mandela Effect and shifting our reality?
So that we can recognize the great traditions are correct when they tell us don't trust your senses. You don't need to be anxious, worried, or upset, or angry even about what you think you see and perceive, because there's a greater level of reality which does exist, and it is fundamental. And when you can keep your heart open, as the Hopi talk about, and keep your crown chakra open so you can receive these automatic writings and messages and guidance from your guides, and also from nature, from the cosmos, it's possible to live the experience of how good it can get. So this is the Mandela Effect is showing us we can choose the golden timeline together. That the Hopi prophecy rock is correct, of course. It would be, because it's described what's happened many times already, and looks like we're about to go through it again. No big deal. Just stay grounded, stay reverent, stay kind, stay loving, stay, like Lao Tzu was saying to you, simple, humble, kind.
Thank you. I'm not going to let it go quite at that. I'm going to take the word fun and I'm going to parse it, and I'm going to go to the first part only of fundamental fun, which is I picture Cynthia Sue Larson as a little girl dancing and stomping in a puddle.
Love it.
Can we play with this Mandela Effect? Can we play with all of this and get back to a state of fun? And how important
Yes.
is that?
It's so important. And basically, there are these sort of, if you want to call them quantum superpowers that we are gaining access to through the Mandela Effect. It's true. We can recognize that if you need something, you just keep checking, it'll show up. In the cupboard, or if it's even in your bank account, money can show up. If you need it, it'll be there. Yeah, these are the kind of things that can be fun to play with when you don't give into the anxiety and the anger and the sadness, and you rise above it. So fun is very important.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Now, I'm so sorry. One last question. What are the quantum superpowers?
Oh, that's huge. That's what I'm writing about. That's the book that got set on like standby for a little bit. But it's basically all the things that we see in quantum physics that seem like, well, that's crazy. Like you've heard of spooky action at a
Oh,
distance,
yeah.
right?
Einstein hated it.
I love it. Basically, it enables us to see the effects of our consciousness across time and space, that there is no boundary, that it doesn't need to be in the same room. You don't have to be thinking small. You can think big. If you need someone, they can pop into reality as if they were always there. That's happened to me with the physicist Yasunori Nomura. I told him you didn't exist before, and he understood because he's co-authored a paper with Alan Guth. He gets it. Yeah. that you can get the people that you need, the experiences you need, the money that you need, all of it. We can also quantum tunnel. You can go right through things if you need to. A lot of people have experienced that one when they've survived near death experiences with car crashes and so forth. Very common, but not commonly talked about. I think there's sort of a feeling of, I can't say this in public. People think I'm nuts. It happens a lot.
Quantum tunneling. I'm going to have to look that up as somebody who's been down the rabbit hole a little bit. I
Yep.
hadn't heard that one before. I mean, I know of the tunnel and the
Yes.
light, but not quantum tunneling.
And then there's quantum superposition of states,
Hmm.
where you can recognize that you're well right now, or you're sick today, and so forth. And you can start choosing which version of you you'd like to be. So if you want to be, it's like last year I was suffering with long COVID. That was part of what put the book on the shelf. But I obviously am not suffering from that now. So that was interesting, and I found some fun things out in the process. So it's when you look at it that way, anything can be fun, even when it seems like, oh my gosh, this is like the worst thing that could have happened. Not really, not necessarily. And when you keep asking, like, what am I learning here? How can this be fun? You'll find out, and it can be amazing. And so these are just a smattering of a few of them. But basically, every single principle in quantum physics where it looks like that's wild, that's weird, the teleportation, the tunneling, the superposition of states, all of these things and more, as we're learning more about quantum physics, we can do them ourselves. These are the new technologies.
How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Would you mind leading us in? Well, okay, I have no other way to put it. Would you mind leading us into a quantum superpower meditation of your calling?
Yes, I'll be guided to do so. So, yes, let's do that. Okay. And how long would you like this to be? Just a few minutes, roughly?
Three,
Or
five
what?
minutes. Can go longer if
Perfect.
you'd like. Anywhere
Okay.
you go.
So I'll be just bringing this in through my high self. So it's sort of like what it is right now that needs to be. Okay, here we go. Yes, quantum superpowers meditation. So start just by getting comfortable. If you want to stretch, you can kind of stretch your muscles and then take a deep breath. Relax. And just feel that you're perfectly calm, perfectly centered. I'm closing my eyes. You can close your eyes if you like. And pay attention to your breathing. Just slow it down. Feel it, just the natural, slow, steady rhythm that it likes to be. If you feel like slowing it down a little more and deepening it a bit more, you can. Finding your own natural pace. And then on the exhale, you can start recognizing that you'll be letting go. Today we were talking about letting go of things like feeling sad. And even if you don't know how to let go of it, you can just give permission to the cosmos, to nature, to help you ground, to release and clear you of whatever sadness or grief you might have been feeling. You're just giving it permission with acknowledgement you don't need that right now. And the next time you exhale, you're just letting go, giving permission to release any anxiety and fear and concerns. Sometimes we watch news or we hear things. That doesn't matter. We can let go of it for right now. Detach. Let it go. Exhaling that out, releasing it. Also continuing to release any sadness. And then the third one will be releasing anything that we think we're angry about that really troubles us. We just know something's wrong. Well, we're going to let go of it right now. We're going to trust nature, trust the cosmos, just letting it go. Anything that we're angry about, anxious about, or sad about, we don't need any of that. Just clearing it, releasing it, letting it just slip away. And where does it go? We can just imagine it's going down a grounding cord to the center of the earth, where she can naturally recycle it, clear it, and just remove it. So there's no more trace of any of that in our energy being right now. We don't need it right now. Good. And as we breathe in, we'll be breathing in and receiving unconditional divine love from the cosmos, this beautiful sense of reverence and bliss and joy and love and exquisite, just it's so far beyond words, this feeling of ecstatic freedom and that infinite bliss that is pure love. You can feel that we're in touch with this eternal, unchanging aspect of love that's just always there. It's always there for all of us, for you right now, for each of us. You can feel that all the cells in our body are being restored and revitalized. So we can start getting in touch with this ability to access these levels of quantum consciousness in our daily life. We're inviting and welcoming and receiving these superpowers that I was touching on in all the best ways. So we can start to play with quantum superposition of states. You can imagine your bank account could be in many conditions, but you're giving it permission today to be in the optimal state of being that it would like to be for you. Just having confidence and faith and knowing for sure that what you need in terms of money will definitely be there, no problem. For your health and well-being, you can choose that your body is now the optimal, healthy version of you. You're choosing that. And the other ones, we don't need to experience those. If there was some message that you needed to get from either of those experiences, with your finances, with your physical health, you can invite those messages to come to you. So if you're going through something with health and you can help others, just agree that yes, you will help others. That's what I did. And it really does, when you make these agreements, like, yes, I'll be in service. I will help others with finances. I will help others with health and well-being. Then it just smooths this ability to receive. And then when you look at relationships, you can imagine the superposition of states of all your relationships, even the ones that may have seemed difficult. We're now giving permission for relationships to be in a superposition of states. And you can imagine and accept and receive that you now are in beautiful alignment with the relationships in your life that you would most like to experience in the best possible ways. And whatever needed to be learned from whoever, that you'll accept your part of that. Just do your piece, do your bit. In other words, for that part, just remember, in relationships, you can put your hand over your heart when you think of that relationship that's a little bit difficult. And just imagine, I just love them just the way they are. I only accept an unconditional divine love from them. That's all I give to them. They will feel this. They will feel that there's been a shift, and it will automatically clean up their relationship. So these are just superposition of state, superpower we're looking at right now. Just to get a taste of it in several areas of life with finances and prosperity, physical health and relationships. And we're just inviting the other quantum superpowers to come in as they would like to reveal themselves to us. Sometimes it's good just to go a little slowly, keep it simple. So I think this is a good taste for today. It feels right. And to do a blessing now, I'm just blessing each and every one of those who are listening to this, that you will be receiving this information, this knowingness, and this ability in the highest level, best possible way that can be easily, effortlessly incorporated into your life, so that you too can find out how good all of this can get for you. I also give you a blessing if you wish to receive it, that if you have any blockages, I invite those blockages to be cleared, not just for today, but for all time. Just envisioning that they can be cleared, and I would join you definitely in letting that be so. Thank you so much. And you can start feeling yourself coming back into regular consciousness, just breathing with the awareness that you're returning to regular waking state consciousness. You can also keep this state if you like. If you're able to keep your eyes closed and want to just bask in it, that's fine. But if you'd like to open your eyes when you're ready, you can do so.
How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Woohoo!
Woo! Love it.
This has been beautiful. Let me see if Ruru is he's going to be like half awake, and I'll see if he wants to say hi. Then I'll let you go. This has been so beautiful, so magical. Hold on 1 second. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get quantum jumps, and begin diving into your own personal Mandela effect today. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! What do you think of that, Rue? Wow, I hope you had so much fun with Cynthia Sue Larson as I just did on the Mandela Effect, and bring your own personal Mandela Effect into your life. How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Well, you can communicate with transdimensional beings. You can communicate at higher dimensional levels. Get awe. Rue, do you want to hold this for people? He's like, I have wings, not arms. Get awe, the automatic writing experience, where you can literally turn your journaling into channeling and begin communicating with angels, with guides, with the other side. You can also join our School of Mystics. We meet 4 Wednesdays a month, helping you to be both on this side of the veil and on the other side, so that you can make quantum jumps, so that you can make massive shifts in your reality as well. Because truth is, you're a mystic in training. So come join us for the School of Mystics. And we also have amazing live events every Monday night. And you can find out about those by clicking the subscribe button and clicking on the bell icon to be notified of all of our upcoming live events, of our premiere events, of everything we have to offer. And if you want even more than that, click the join button below and become a member of the Mystic Circle. You get so much behind the scenes goodness with me, with Rue, with the whole team, learnings, doings, beings, growings, you name it. Behind the scenes videos to help you uplift every area of your life. It's so joyous. It's so much fun. It's so, Rue's getting a little too excited here. It's so great having you with me. Here's the link for the next amazing, here's the link for the next amazing video. Love you guys so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo!